First Octagon, where I'm going to be sitting here and talking about what's going on in the world of UFC today. I'm very intrigued by the sport of UFC, mixed martial arts, or anything like that. I love it. I dive deep into it all the time. It's just something that I'm very interested in and have been for the last decade. I think just now was the time where I'm ready to move forward and think that I can do this kind of stuff and talk about it, since I'm a little bit more educated on what's going on in the mixed martial arts world. So without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in and welcome to the First Octagon. So today we're going to be talking about Ilia TOPURIA had rumored that he wanted to vacate his featherweight title and he wanted to move up in weight. Now, everybody's doing this. I mean, everybody wants that champ status, like how McGregor was running the show in 2015, when he became double champ at UFC 205. It's one of those things, though, for me now, is when people become a champion in today's mixed martial arts, is they immediately want to move up in weight to prove that they're more. And I'm like, dude, there's a problem with that. I'm like, dude, clean out your division and prove that you're the GOAT in that division. And once you do that, then you can move up. I see you going up. I'm like, Israel Adesanya, in my opinion, was the last fighter to really do it right. He cleaned out the middleweight division without a problem. And was like, you know what, I'm going up to 205, which was a very, very grueling test for him. And he wasn't able to pull it off. The 205ers are some big guys. And I just believe that you need to prove yourself in your division before you do this. There are still deadly featherweights waiting in his division. I'm like, are we going to forget that Diego Lopez exists? I'm like, dude, the dude's been getting on short notice fights and he's been running the show. One of my best featherweight fighters right now is Diego Lopez because he comes out and puts on a beautiful show for everyone to enjoy, like UFC 300 against Brian Ortega. Wonderful fight. He starched him in the first 45 seconds of the fight. I mean, that man deserves a title shot. You give Volkanovski his rematch because I think him coming off that knockout from Islam, it was too quick of a turnaround to defend his featherweight title. Moving up to 155, getting knocked out, and then straight back into training camp and cutting back to 145. It was, if you had any knowledge, you knew that Volkanovski probably didn't have the best of chances against a deadly contender at the time and still deadly Ilia TOPURIA, in the words of Conor McGregor. I think it's just one of those things that you really have to prove yourself before you move up, because when you even look at Sean O'Malley, he was like, I'm gonna defend this title against Marab in the Sphere, and I'm gonna move up, and I'm gonna knock out Ilia, which I'm a big Sugar fan, but I never saw that happen. I was like, you don't stand a chance against Ilia. His boxing is so clean, he's so powerful. I mean, look what he did to Max Holloway, poor rest his soul, and it's one of those things that just do what you need to do in your division first and then talk about moving up. And for you to sit there and you want to call out Charles Oliveira, I'm like, I think that's a great fight. But I don't think Ilia can stand up on the ground with Charles Oliveira. I'm like, the dude is a menacing trial on the ground. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is phenomenal. He's a great fighter. I mean, his last performance, 309 against Michael Chandler. I'm like, he said he had an injury coming out of that, but he didn't want to pull out of the fight. And, it was still a really good fight. Michael Chandler looked really good too. But I don't think Ilia would really have a good chance on the ground. I think he would knock Charles down, and in Charles fashion, he would bait you to the ground. And he'll take your back, and he'll lay you flat and choke you out. Because that's what Charles Oliveira is about. The champ, the Bronx, has a name. It's Charles Oliveira. But for Ilia, I think you hang out in your division for a little while, and you kind of prove that nobody's going to beat you in featherweight, and then talk about moving up to lightweight. Islam was just saying, I don't want to fight smaller guys anymore. I mean, he wants to move up in weight and fight bigger guys. And for Islam, I don't think anybody stops that guy. I'm like, dude, with Habib in his corner, then guys from Dagestan, I mean, they eat, breathe, and sleep wrestling. That's all they do. Like, from very early in the morning. I keep acting like I'm going to take this. I will. Let me just crack open the old Keystone. And I think Islam, what he's done for the division, I'm like, dude there's a reason he's the number one pound for pound. And I know what you guys might be thinking, well, it's John Jones. No, I'm not that guy. I can't stand John Jones. Nothing against, he's a phenomenal fighter, but I can't stand the guy in general. But for Islam, I think he has the right for wanting to move up and do that because of the people he's beaten in the lightweight division. I'm like, dude, the lightweight division is the most stacked division in the UFC. You try to tell me that I'm wrong, I'm gonna look you in the face and call you a liar. There's, without a doubt, the lightweight division is the stacked division in the UFC, and it's the most deadly contenders in that organization right now. I just, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira. Really want to see Michael Chandler. He's an entertainer, but I don't think he's really the top five. Moving on from ILIA and the fact that he wants to vacate, move up in weight. That's my opinion. That's my thoughts on that. If you want to say something else differently, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. I would love to talk to you and get your understanding or get any other understanding, really. But let's talk about Ian Machado Garry and the performance that he had put on at UFC 310. Coming up against a deadly contender that had the title fight against Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad pulls out, for, I think, unforeseen reasons or something that I haven't read about. But a deadly contender. Everybody thought Shavkat was just going to walk through this guy. I mean, even myself. I was like, dude, there's no chance. Like, 18-0, 18 finishes, all within the distance. It's just, he looks great at welterweight. I mean, that is a scary 170-pound guy. The things that he's doing to these guys is just insane, and when I started looking at the tail of the tape, Garry had 2 inches of height on him. I think he's 6'3", Shavkat was 6'1", but Shavkat had the 2.5-inch reach advantage. And I was like, man, once we kind of started leading up to the fight on Saturday morning, I was like, man, I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than what we were thinking it's going to be because he's a taller guy. Ian Machado is hungry. He's confident in what he does. And the performance he went out there and, almost choking Shavkat out was just, I was sitting there biting my nails, just freaking out because I was like, dude, there's no way this is going to happen, But that's the sport, like, just unpredictable things happen like that all the time. And, Shavkat showed what contender he is and how much heart he has. He pulled out of it and then got back on top and, did what he does best, and that is dominate. And a lot of people, were kind of thinking that it could have went Ian Garry's way, and I'm like, okay, yeah, so are the same guys that are saying it could have went Sean's way, or you could have gave Sean another round in the Rob fight. I'm like, it's half, one dozen, half the other. It's something that you don't expect. But what he showed, Ian Garry, was just like, he's not a joke in that welterweight division either. And anybody that thinks that he is a joke, I'm like, no, man, he's a problem. And I think if he would have fought Colby Covington and that fight fell through, I think Ian Garry would have got the job done. I'm like, Colby Covington isn't the contender he was back in 2017, 2018 era. A deadly contender, and, they gave him Jaquan Buckley, which I think's a good matchup, but in the same sense, I'm not 100% sure if Covington gets the job done that night. But that's for another video to talk about that fight upcoming this Saturday, December 14th. Stacked card, by the way. But Ian Garry, even in the post-fight press conference, was talking like, no bad blood against this guy. We've trained together, we've fought together, we've done all these things together, and has no animosity against the guy. He respects him, and Ian Garry accepted his loss. He was like, this is part of the game, but I was just happy to be here. And for me, I'm like, dude, that gains my respect as an MMA fan. It's just awesome to see when somebody's able to do that after a loss on the highest of stage. When it's a contender fight. Like, you're gonna get the title shot next. And just the performance he put on, I think Ian Garry will be back, and I think he will be a title challenger one day, without a doubt, and within the next year. Unless the whole Shavkat Bilal fight falls through, one of them gets injured, or Bilal has to fight somebody else, I could see that maybe happening, it falling through, and then you book Bilal and Shavkat at the end of 2025, but that would keep Ian Garry out of the picture. But no matter the outcome of Bilal and Shavkat, I believe your next in line will be Ian Garry or Quan Buckley or Colby Covington, just because he's in this main event next week. This Saturday. I think it's Tuesday now. But he will challenge for the title, and I think he'll look good doing it. I don't think he'll get ran through. But like I said, it's a very unpredictable sport. But all respect goes out to Ian Machado Garry. I mean, there's a reason his nickname's the Future. I think he's living up to that name. I think there is a future in the welterweight division for him, and I'm excited for his career. At the beginning of his career, I was kind of like, I don't know, I like this guy a lot. He's reminded me of the Conor McGregor era, where it's just getting you pumped up when this dude fights, because, like, he's about his business. He'll talk, but, like, he shows up and he gets the job done. He fought Michael Venom Page, and, I thought he was going to starch Michael Venom Page, and that didn't happen. I think it was a decision victory. But now, later in Ian Garry's career, I was like, man, all this stuff going on with your wife and everything like that, I was like, it's kind of hard to like this guy, but without a doubt, I think Ian Garry's a phenomenal father. So, me as a father, I'm like, respect to you, brother. You deserve it. You are doing great things for your child, for your son, and continue doing that, Ian Garry. I think it's phenomenal, man. So aside the fact of Ian Garry and Shavkat, Pantoja doing what he does best, smokes this guy from Rising MMA. I really didn't have much hope for Kai Asakura, and I was like, the dude does have deadly knockout power. He's scary and stuff like this, but I was like, dude, no matter how much grappling you've done, you are not going to keep up with a guy that has trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling for the last 20, 25 years. You're just not. Like, no matter what training, whoever you have in your corner, it's just not going to happen, because there's a difference of you doing it for 6 months compared to all those years. There's so much stuff you've seen. And Pantoja, in the flyweight division, I mean, he's ran through that division. He calls out Mighty Mouse, which, awesome, he called out Mighty Mouse, but Mighty Mouse has responded and said, I'm not coming out of retirement. I was offered $2 million to come back, and I didn't take it. My black ass ain't coming out of retirement, were his words exactly. And, it would have been an awesome fight to see. But what does Demetrius Johnson owe anybody? Just be grateful that he was in the UFC for the time he was, and it won championship, and gave us great fights all the time. And, DJ is 100% one of the goats of MMA. But don't be like that whole, GSP coming back against Johnny Hendricks. And, I mean, come on, I'm a giant GSP fan. Love him. An anchor of MMA. A GOAT out of, I think he came out of Jackson Links. And, I mean, phenomenal. But look, dude, that Johnny Hendricks fight, he lost. But I think he knows that he has nothing to win and nothing to prove. Even if he was to come back and win the title, then what? You're not going to want to compete again. So you're just going to vacate the title again, and all it was a quick paycheck that he doesn't need. He is an entrepreneur now, in a sense, and streams all these things, and has all this merchandise, and he makes money off all that, and all of his accolades Demetrius Johnson. You know, so hats off to Demetrius Johnson. I think him making the call of not wanting to come back, I think is a phenomenal call and is 100% justified. But I know there's going to be some MMA fans that are crying and whining about it because, dude, us MMA fans are so judgy. It's so weird. Like, I mean, one dude, like, you lose a fight one time and everybody's like, he's washed. He's washed. He doesn't have anything now. Like, he's done for. And I'm like, dude, this dude has showed you every side of MMA and made it look wonderful. And gets knocked out, loses a decision or whatever, and you want to call him washed, you want to call him a scrub. Which, that's ridiculous. Come on, dude. Like, dude will beat any of our ass. You know what I mean? And alright, that stuff's good, man. It's I think it's just any GOAT that wants to come back. I think it's awesome to sell pay-per-views, but in the sense of like the fighter himself or herself, like there's really nothing. It'd be like trying to call Amanda Nunes back. I'm like, yeah, people will tune in because they know Amanda Nunes. That's a GOAT women's MMA. You know, it'd be like calling her back. I'm like, dude, sell all these fights, do it. You know, but you're not gonna. After she wins that fight, like she's just gonna frickin' mosey off again. You know, because she has nothing to prove to the sport. Nothing to prove at all. And I think that's completely okay. Can't even open this. Look at me. Can't even open what I'm trying to open. Bite it. Ah, shit. Dude. Okay. Well, that's not happening. Oh, there it goes. Why is that so hard? That hurt my teeth. Why? Just gonna take a little spray on that. A little sugar, a maker's mark. Oh, dude. So amazing. I don't get the big bottles anymore. But, yeah. So, those are my thoughts, my opinions on ILIA TOPURIA moving up. Islam wanted to move up. The state that Ian Garry showed at UFC 310. Talk about Alex Pantoja calling out Demetrius Johnson. I mean, I think we have covered what we can cover in the talks of MMA right now. I will be back later this week to talk about the upcoming UFC event on Saturday. We will run through the card, you know, kind of talk about some picks, things like that, you know, give you my insight. If you would like to share some of your insight about the card, let me know. Let's conversate about it. I think it'll be a great time, an awesome time. You know, and then after the event, we'll talk about the outcome of that, and then let's get ready for UFC 311, man. The UFC is kicking off with a bang in January, dude. We got two of the guys from AKA, you know, on Habib's team, dude. Islam Makhachev and Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, dude, those two headlining an event at the beginning of the year is amazing. I think the Arman Sarukian fight is awesome, and I think the Merab and Umar fight is awesome. I think it's a grappler's delight, and I think in the Islam Arman case, the Sarukian case, I think that's a great fight too. Islam is human. You know, Dustin Poirier showed it, but Dustin Poirier's got heart. He is the diamond, you know. Props to him for keeping MMA strong. But I will be back later this week. We will talk about the card. Let's get ready for this. And thank you for tuning into this channel. I appreciate the support if I'm going to get any. It's so awesome. And thank you for being at the first episode of The First Octagon. We'll see you next.